Welcome back to the PAC Sports Network for our halftime show as we're at the break between Bethany and Thiel. And we now have the pleasure of being joined by the head coach of the men's basketball team at Thiel, Coach Tim Loomis. Coach, first off, thanks for taking a little time to chat today. It's been a little bit of an up and down year for your team this season, but what have been some things that you've really liked about how this team's been able to handle the very constant, peaks and valleys that the basketball season brings?
Well, it's been more than a little ups and downs. I have to say that we have our share of up and down. But starting with the fact we lost probably our best player for the year at the first week of practice, and he was a really good freshman last year, big 6'6" forward, and Jonah will be back next year, but with a concussion, and we couldn't get him cleared till Christmas. So that really set us back. So we had to play the two freshmen a whole year. And, they're doing great. They have their typical games as freshmen. One game they'll have 2 rebounds, the next game they'll have 10. But all in all, it's been an enjoyable season, believe it or not. We had a decent year last year, but not compared to what we always are, and especially this year, not compared to what we've always done in the past. But this year's been enjoyable. This young bunch keeps playing hard. You don't know what you're going to get every night, which is frustrating. You might get beat by 15, and you may lose at the buzzer like we did Saturday. So kids are doing great. We're getting better every game defensively. It's just we lack inconsistency. So, that's the biggest thing with the young team. Although we do have mature guards, our 2 guards, one's a senior, one's a grad student, and Brown's a junior who's improved immensely from last year. He's our leader. It's kind of his team now because, you have a small amount of games left, and he'll be our leader next year.
You mentioned about the experience in the guard department and Marlon Ellerby, kind of that driving force as the grad student. Where have you seen him grow the most, not just as a player, but really as a leader, especially with him being, part of various forms of this team and now being in his final season?
Yeah, he and Kai Nexon, he's also a grad student. Both kids are outstanding students, get their MBA in 1 year. And Marlon had a bounce back year so far. Last year he was injured, severely injured, his knee. Didn't really play. He played some games at the end, but couldn't play. And the year before, he's all conference. So he's been our leader on the court and off the court. He's a very mature kid. And, he'll make a lot of money someday, he and little Kai. But he's done a great job rehabbing. We had to send Johns Hopkins University for a lot of rehab and checking his knee. And he has like a 60-year-old knee, the poor kid, worse than mine probably. And he's done a good job. And Kai's been the same way. He's a leader in the locker room. He wants to be a coach someday. But I told him, don't be a coach. Make some money. And he's a great kid. And the other kid, Gabe, from Venezuela, or from Miami, but originally from Venezuela. Those three guys have been the reason we're having maybe not a record-wise successful, but we sure as hell having a really good year. Enjoyable. The kids play hard every second of every practice. Of course, we demand that, but don't have to push these guys to play hard. And that's really the most important thing at this level is how hard you play.
Well, I'll talk about and ask about Gabe here in a moment, but I want to stick with Mike Brown because of like you mentioned, the incredible improvement that he has seen in his game. What is it that he has been able to add to his game? It seems every single year since, he walked onto campus.
Well, his strength. Kids come out of high school and, physically they can't play. Even at all levels, even as at Division I, if they don't live in that weight room in the preseason before they get to college, they can't compete with the older guys physically. They can as far as talent. He got himself in a weight room like we do. We lift 3 days a week all year, and he's gotten stronger, bigger. And of course, as a junior, you see kids really develop mid-semester of their sophomore year. And I could see an improvement last year. And of course, a couple guys were gone from last year's team that he was playing behind, and I felt he would be a better player than them this year. And he's proved that. He's been a very good player, great defensively, takes care of the ball, gets the ball in the right situation. He's finally become a point guard that's a coach on the floor, which we hadn't had for a few years.
And then, like you mentioned, Gabe Gonzalez is really, his numbers have skyrocketed from the previous 2 years to now. Where has his impact been felt the most, especially this season on this team?
Well, defensively, believe it or not, and that poor kid, I've been on him for 3 years about how bad he is defensively. And this year, he's finally, he got the message the hard way. And we've been putting him on the best players, the other team, if they're a guard. And like Saturday, he held one of the best guards in the conference, the kid from Franciscan, held him to 2 field goals. And he had been averaging 24, I don't know how many points a game, last 3 or 4 games, nearly 30. And he's made the biggest improvement defensively. He's always been a good shooter, very athletic, tough kid. And he gets a little emotional sometimes, and he gets himself in trouble with me. But other than that, he's done a great job this year.
Without question, and obviously the numbers speak for themselves as well on paper, but getting into some of the youth on the team, and especially down low, Kamari Accurcio Harris has been, again, building on that freshman season he had last season, really being that threat on the glass for you guys. How has he been able to be that threat rebounding-wise and really be that main post presence?
Well, he had to, let's put it that way, because with those 2 freshmen, you don't know what you're going to get every night. So we've stressed with him, we need him to score 12, 14 points a game, get 8 to 10 rebounds a game. It took him a while because he's so unselfish. I had to threaten to bench him. I had to threaten, all kinds of things if he doesn't shoot the ball. Finally, the last few games, he's not been giving the ball up so much. And he is a good scorer. He's a great athlete and a really tough young guy. I mean, he has one of the toughest backgrounds, home life, that you can imagine. And he's just an outstanding kid from where he's had to come from. And now he's starting to step up and score more. And, of course, he always rebounds the ball. So you're hitting on some real key points. Normally, these kind of interviews, you kind of look at the stats, but you seem to know what the heck you're talking about.
Well, I try, my friend. I try. That's why they have me do this to make sure I'm trying to drive the boat to us for us to the finish line. But I want to finish off with Rob Thomas because, like you said, kind of gets thrusted into a role as a freshman with some injuries early in the year. Obviously, freshmen, like you said, they'll make freshman mistakes, but he's been in more times than not been a very good positive for you this season. How has he been able, and what has it been in his game that's helped him transition from high school to college?
Well, he has a lot of skill. And like a lot of good players out of high school, they have skill, but they don't have the toughness. So he's had to gain the toughness. And he's still making progress towards being tough enough to play for us. And although, he's still lacking offensive ability and offensive rebounding. If we had him like the other guys that are a little more mature and he would offensively rebound, he'd be a much better player. But no, he's done a great job as a freshman. He's been freshman of the week. I don't know how, newcomer 2 or 3 times, I guess, and hasn't gotten a big head over it. And I make sure of that. But he just needs to improve defensively. And like all high school kids coming to college, they think they can defend and they can't. And really, the 2 freshmen, he and Daz Sanders from Texas, the 6'7", they've hurt us and cost us games, but they're getting better. And you have to live with freshman mistakes that they make.
Well, it definitely seems that this team is on the upward trend, if you will, and definitely having an exponential growth throughout the rest of this season. But as the season starts to wind down, Coach, and before we get you out of here, I'm curious to hear from you what you feel will be kind of the calling card to get you guys over this right now on the outside looking into the playoffs that can get you guys over that hump and into the postseason tournament.
Well, it's a challenge to these guys. We haven't been in that situation for, I can't ever remember. Last year, we lost the last game of the season, first time in our history, well, since I've been here, I guess it's a long time, that we weren't in a playoff. Usually we're in the top 4, top 5 every year or higher. But last year, we got beat at Waynesburg and dumped us out of the playoff. This year, we've lost a lot of games in the last minute or a minute and a half. And, that goes back to bad coaching. Come on. You got to get it done. Well prepared, but not getting it done the last minute or 2 of the game. And we're getting better at it, but yet we are on the outside looking in. It's real simple. We got to win 5 or 4 or 5 and see what happens. We're capable of that if our guards shoot the ball consistently. and we do a better job offensively rebounding. Then we'll see what happens at the end. But we have a schedule that, like everybody else, tough schedule going the last couple weeks. That's the way it is. We'll see what happens.
Without question, should be a very exciting final few weeks. Coach, again, thanks so much for spending a little time with us today, and good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
That's Thiel head men's basketball coach Tim Loomis. Don't move a muscle. We've got second half action coming up next on the PAC Sports Network.